Alrighty, holy shit. It is 1:36 in the morning, and I'm in my family's crafts room, our office. It's where we keep all of our big old minis, a lot of our D&D stuff. 3D printers right behind me. Big old banner for our gaming group. Gone Fallon doesn't fit in here, unfortunately. Got a whole bunch more stuff off to my side, and the power of the sun in the middle of the room. This big old bulb. I look at it every 5 minutes and blind myself. But again, it's 1:36 in the morning, and I have just finished modeling out something for Hex-Cavern. A really big improvement, hopefully. It's not going to be free because let's run a timeline. So Monday afternoon, I'm on my way over here because I've got a project idea in mind that I want to work. I don't live with my parents anymore, actually. This classroom is built out of my old bedroom. This used to be my bedroom. I used to live in this room. Kind of cringe. But I don't live here anymore. I actually live on my grandparents' farm, about 5-10 minutes from this area. And I'm on my way over because I've got an idea. It's Monday afternoon, probably around 1 in the afternoon. Finished my farm work for the day, and I've got an idea for Hex-Cavern. And it was inspired by an advertisement I'd actually seen, a sponsorship ad, on a short that I was watching. I couldn't honestly tell you which YouTuber it was. It was a D&D YouTuber, though, who does a lot of product reviews for D&D, companions, items, stuff that you can use to enhance your game. And it was these, tiles, these hexagonal tiles. They weren't exactly 1 inch. They were probably actually around 2.5 inches that you locked together and created terrain with. And that was pretty cool looking to me. And it got me thinking, what if I made something like that for Hex-Cavern? Problem was, Monday morning, I had never touched a 3D modeling program in my life. Never. No clue how they worked. So I get to my parents, where my dad's got this Mac. It's literally my phone's leaning on the Mac right now. I probably could be using the Mac's camera, but I don't know how to do that, and I don't want to figure it out. I've spent too much time sitting in this chair. And so I load up the Mac, we get Blender installed, and I get to work. Because I don't like watching a lot of tutorials. I won't lie, I had to look up a few things, but it should be noted a couple weeks back when I released the first playtest for Hex-Cavern, Hex-Cavern Playtest 1. That was done after an entire week of learning the Adobe Creative Suite. I don't know how you say it. I'm going to say suite. And that was an entire week of learning that entire suite, and all the skills translated between their different apps pretty smoothly. And so I load up Blender for the first time ever, and a lot of the skills transferred over. I was actually pleasantly surprised by that, which was good. That was good. But it was still a learning curve, trying to figure out which buttons did which. Finicking with things. That's not the right word. Finagling things. That sounds sexual. Anyways, I finally get my first test print, and I've got them. Oh my god! I've got an entire cup with four generations right here. And God, you really can't see it. So that little nub right there, that was intentional. These, just realized I never actually broke this one out. Those are supports. That's not supposed to be that is supposed to be an empty little socket there, but you could not tell that. You would never be able to tell that. And you absolutely cannot slot these together. These were done on our Anycubic filament printer. It's not the big case behind me. It's actually on the other side of that case on a table. And so we decided probably not enough detail on the Anycubic, so we move over to the Creality printer behind me, the big motherfucker that we've got a custom ventilation system printed on top of. And we print out these. We just happen to have gold filament loaded in. My dad was printing out some gold coins. I couldn't even tell you where those are at. We actually just had a failed print of those. It's been giving us issues all day. And these, you can actually see the slots. You can clearly see the nub. You can, okay, my camera isn't showing it too well, but you can clearly see the nub, or the slot in real life. And they slotted together sometimes, but it was a really rough print. The raft that was generated by default really got in the way. And as I'm pressing these together more and more, they're falling apart more and more. It's really thin. But yeah, see, they slot together. But it takes some effort, and it's not precise. This is my first ever model I had ever made on Blender, and it was rough. Nothing was accurate. Not a single one of these nubs is the exact same, nor are they positioned the same. Was not a good job. But it was experience. It was a learning curve. So then, do I have generation 2? I'm holding generation 2. I decided, okay, I need bigger holes and I need bigger locks. So I've moved on in terminology, whereas with these, we're calling them nubs and slots. I kept the term slot, and now I've got locks. The nubs are locks. And so we move on to generation 3, which is these. Ooh, that's an ugly print. And a lot more pronounced. You can see those slots and locks so much better. Oh my god, I was so happy seeing these come out of the printer. But they don't go together. My clearances were too low. It's the where this bridge across here is into that bridge right there just doesn't slot in well. So I was like, okay, increase my tolerances. And also, while I was working on that on Model 3, Model 3, I thought about something. If I were to take 2 of these and somehow lock them together like that, and do I have another Model 3? Yeah. We were printing them in batches of 4 to 6. And I were to try to lock it in here, I would have to twist it on because one of these goes under, the other one goes over. Not a good system at all. So I scrap it, I start rebuilding another model. And keep in mind, I'm not modifying old models here. What I'm doing is I am straight up, I've got my measurements 1 inch. Oh, and that's another thing is that noticeably, the program, whenever you create a hexagon, Blender, you create a cylinder and add 6 vertices. It doesn't measure 1 inch from this flat to this flat. It measures 1 inch from this point down to this point. So that's not what a normal standard, like let's say a D&D battle map uses. Those measure 1 inch from this flat to this flat. And also the angles run out, right? This was not a perfect 30 degree, 33. It was like 33, 27. It was nuts, not okay. These ones, full inch from flat to flat, and 30 degree, 30 degree, 33, 30 degree. That allowed everything to be a lot more consistent. And these nubs, sorry, locks, I gotta remember I'm using that term now, just came up with that yesterday. These locks are literally the exact same object. I created the lock, lined it up, and then copied it multiple times in place. And what I did was I would join them, rotate this 60, join the next one, rotate it 60, and join the last one. Really simple system, and it gave me consistency. But again, I needed to solve the problem in the next generation. So the next generation, my Mac actually just went dark screen. Give me a second. It's my backlight. So the next generation, I solved this problem. And as you can see, the hole, the slot, goes all the way through. There's no roof like there was on these ones. You know, if you look at it like that, it looks solid. Look at the back, there's slots. It goes all the way through, so that way I can just set them on each other. But again, my clearances were not good. I didn't understand how to make clearances at all. And at this point I believe I finished up these on Tuesday. Yes, these were finished up Tuesday evening, so I'm day and a half, 2 days in. These prints finished like midnight on Tuesday. It was rough. And so I head home because I'm like, okay, I'm feeling really defeated by this. But because I set, usually if I'm going to set a deadline, I'll start at the beginning of the week, Sunday to Monday, and I'll try to get it done by Saturday because in the forge, in the studio, Saturdays are update days. So I like to give myself a week to finish a project. And I think it's been reasonable every time I've done something like this. And so I sit down today, actually technically yesterday, because again, it's 1:45 in the morning on a Thursday. So I sit down Wednesday, and I actually got here around, I think, noon. I don't know if that time's accurate. It's been a blur of a few days. So I get here around, I'm going to say noon, and I get to work. And I go through the modeling, and I get model number 4. And we go to load it up in the printer, And this is where trouble strikes. And trouble has not unstricken. That's probably not a word. So trouble strikes because we get 4 of them. Actually, I think we loaded 6 of them into the printer. And I can fetch these scraps right here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I got a bucket here full of print scraps. In this one, you can see the locks and slots are so much more pronounced. But that's about how far we got into the print before it failed. And we still have not. It has been like 6 hours of testing to figure it out. And we still have not figured out what it is. We've cleaned out the extruder and the gears and everything. And it's on this Creality printer. Really nice printer. We've never really had any problems with it. We cleaned it out. And we've even tried a different model. We just tried a whole bunch of St. Patrick's Day coins that he's printing for pub crawl this weekend. Failed a lot later in, though, so we're a little bit more confused because every time we tried to print these, failed like within a few layers, like a few nanometers, I think is the term. These ones, I can actually pick it up and maybe show y'all through the glass. They got really far in before actually failing. I just realized it was kind of super uncomfortable up close to a reflection of my face. So they get really far in before actually failing. We have that Coke can out of frame. And we're confused. I was thinking it was my model number 4, hex test 4 as it's labeled in the files, because I noticed for some reason a singular section, let's use this for example, singular section around this corner of the slot, the bevel that was on it was like extruded inverse. I don't really have a word to describe it. I don't know the right terminology to describe it. It was wonky, but it was just a singular corner of a singular slot. And it copied over on every single copy that we made. So it didn't seem to affect anything in the long run. I really don't think it did, especially seeing that the coins just now failed. Like probably 20 minutes ago, we cut it because it just wasn't extruding anymore. And as you can see, there's still a lot of gold filament on that roll back there. So didn't run out of filament. We're thinking it might be just the filament's moist. I've been in here 12 hours today now, so I've probably generated a lot of humidity. We've got a dehumidifier in here, but we're gonna run it. We're gonna run the filament to a dehumidifier tomorrow. But I still wasn't sitting well with my model, my number 4, mostly because of that weird little bevel glitch. Probably not a glitch, probably just user error again. At this point, I'm 3 days in, 0 experience prior to Monday with any 3D modeling program. I've used 3D printers, so I know how to manipulate those in scaling and in, resizing, moving around. I've never done actual modeling, moving around vertexes, all that. Closest I've got is playing Minecraft and Terraria, not real modeling. And I don't have the looks for real life modeling either, so don't get me started there. So I start on number 5. But the problem I've been having is, and not really a problem, and the idea that I've been having is, once you get to the edge of that 19-inch map, that's the thing, is that I'm having to cut back on things. So let me interrupt my intro. Once you get to the edge of that 19-inch map, you've got just a bunch of locks extruding out to nothing. And it just doesn't look good. It doesn't sit well with me. So I wanted to just go ahead and start making variants where you've got, let's say, I'm on the wrong one. Hold up. Let me grab 4 or 3. So let's say lock, slot, lock, nothing, nothing, slot. So now you can attach one this way, this way, this way, and this way, but this is an edge piece. In this case, this will probably be a corner piece. So it's sitting at one of the bottom, or one of the corners of the 19-inch grid. But while I was working this, I had an idea. Because if you were to try to set up that 19 hexagon diameter or 19-inch diameter battlefield, you would need almost, if my math is right, and I'm not the best at math, I've been using a calculator all day, you would need almost, if not over, 300 of these printed. I don't want to do that. I wouldn't want anyone buying or getting interested in this project, I think I just had a stroke, to do that. I wouldn't want anyone to have to do that. That is a ridiculous waste of materials and a waste of time, especially for something that I really haven't gotten to play test with enough people to determine if it would be worth that amount of effort. And so it brought me on to an idea. Take these, and instead of those being the battlefield, these are now the pathways. So I have spent the last 4 hours of this project. Again, it is now almost 2 in the morning on Thursday. There's like something in my eye. I have spent the last 4 hours working on something. Because for Hex Test 5, as is labeled, so base model number 5, each and every step of the process has been saved. So let me go and pull up these files. All right, so as you can see here, we are in Hex Test 5 as a folder. And I've got labeled 1, 2, 3, 4. My hand's a little shaky, forgive me. 5, 6, 7. 1 through 4 are folders. 5 through 7 are just straight STLs. I've also got SU, which as you can tell stands for structures. Hex Test Basic Unit, Hex Test Capital, Hex Test Caster, Hex Test King, Hex Test Library, Hex Test Ruin, and Hex Test Stronghold. The 1 at the end is just to state this is version 1 of these. So everything else, like the actual hex bases, is version 5, but the structures are in their own little subfolder because they are only on version 1. Because I only thought to do structures today and units. So let me go and actually open these up in Blender because opening them as a flat STL gets weird right now. I'm working on it. All right, so as you can see here, got 1, 1A, 1B, 1C. Let me go and show you what that means here. So you go and open up Hex-Cavern, Hexes, Hex Test 5, 1. That is Hex 1A. That is 1B. That is 1C. And you can see where it goes. If I go down to 2, and I know you guys can't see the folder section, that is 2A, 2B, and 2C. This is 3A, 3B, and 3C. Essentially, for each possible combination of locks and sockets, 4A, 4B, and 4C, and finally, 5, 6, and lastly 7, I have made one model for each possible combination of hexes, sockets, and locks. Behold my madness. I'm not going to spoil the structure and unit hexes yet. Those you guys will get to see on Saturday. I'm uploading this hopefully on Thursday, later today. Obviously, again, it's 2 in the morning. I'm going to upload this after I've gotten some rest and done some editing. So these should be up on Saturday. Wow, I'm really throwing words. Again, I've been going at this for way too long. I'm on a ton of caffeine. It's not okay. You guys might be able to hear some music. My younger sibling is actually in the next room over. Which is why I'm not being too loud, hopefully. But yeah, I have put a lot of time into this. But what it's going to be is a total rework of the scenario building system. And kind of the structure system too. As far as paper players go, you know, all of the paper resources, you know, printable, battle map, terrain, and structures and units, all of those, unfazed. Those will always be free. I will never charge for those. But what will change is how they're set up. Because all of this is changing. The scenario setup will no longer be placing walls and closing in empty space. Instead, you're placing the empty space and the walls are what's not placed. So every hex that you connect creates more empty space. So these two, empty space. Then each player takes turns building on that and building further and further in different orientations, creating the walkways instead of creating the walls. And this is going to be a lot better for everyone. It will mean you're going to be able to save some on printing both paper and filament or resin if you decide to print these in resin. I'm not sure if we're going to personally test resin. I think we're going to recommend filament, but we'll see. Filament just is a lot more consistent in our experience, and it's a lot easier to repair on a faulty print or anything like that. It's a lot easier to figure out. Other than this problem's stumping us, but we're pretty sure it's an anomaly. We think it might just be the filament. But it'll also just be easier to understand, I feel like. So instead of you being allotted terrain points to build the walls, you'll be allotted terrain points to build the walkways, and each of those 1 through 7, 1A, 1B, 1C, those will all have their own prices. Not particularly having, A, B, and C individually priced, but each section. So 1 will be like 1 point, 2 might be 2 or 3 points, and then it'll be scenario specific still. So in scenario 1, where it's battle for the center, it wants to encourage open fields. So what it might do is 7, which is 3 slots, 3 locks, this, but with a different model now. Those might be cheaper, a lot cheaper. Those might be damn near free, 1 or 2 points. This is to encourage you to have multiple slots to build off of. In a case where you've got an open slot, so let's say you've got these set up, and this is your final arrangement. It's just three like this. I'm not going to be able to show this effectively. All of these that aren't connected after everyone's placed all of their terrain and whatnot will just be considered walls. If there's no tile to move on to, there's no tile to move on to. Self-explanatory. But also, something interesting, I think, is that I just realized I kind of goofed something up on my unit tiles. I'll actually have to go back and edit my unit tiles. Because I just realized now, I was kind of on autopilot. I also cut the unit tiles to have slots and locks. They weren't supposed to. Only the structures. The structures, so library, ruin, capital, stronghold, all 4 of those will be on this slot system. So, and they will all be 7s. So you can connect slot, lock, slot. You'll have all 6 sides available to connect to. But the thing is, you can't move through structures. I think. Yeah, you can't move through structures. Sorry, I had to think about my own rule set there. It's been a hell of a day, as I said. So you're going to have to actually place these and plan around how to get around them, or use that tactically. Say you're nearing the end of the scenario setup phase. You still got a few structure or terrain points left, and you want to place a library in someone's way. You absolutely can do that. You can't use them to override other terrain places, so other walkway pieces, anything like that. But let's say you can tell that someone's trying to connect a tunnel. Place a library, place a ruin there, something that you feel like won't benefit them, because at this point everyone's already picked their kingdoms. Let's say you're trying to stop the Frostbone kingdom from building closer to you. They're about to connect a tunnel to your tunnel here. Their tunnel, your tunnel. Place a ruin right here. They're not going to want to loot that all that often unless their king's nearby. So just place a ruin there. Now they have to go all the way around. So all of this offers counterplay. And I think that's going to be one of the healthiest things, is that with the placing of wall system in playtest 1, there wasn't as much counterplay. But with the placing of floor and placing of structures, there's going to be a lot more counterplay now, and I'm really excited to see how this plays out. And again, it's going to be a lot more cost effective. As far as the paper system goes, the way that that's going to change is, let me just grab one of these flat hexes where you can't even see the nubs. You've got the hex here, and there we go, I've got a little pen thing. What it will do is, instead of having, a cutout or anything along here, it'll just have an arrow and an arrow. Probably. Again, we haven't worked that far. I've just spent the last day modeling. Tomorrow I will likely be working on the paper cutout versions. So what those arrows will indicate is which side is open. Anything that doesn't have an arrow will be a closed end. It might not be an arrow, it might just be a thicker line, or like an outline running from these two joints to indicate that these two are open, something like that. It's that way you're saving more on the paper as well. And I will still probably leave the 19-inch cutout or printout that is 6 pages. Probably leave that in the file system. I will probably still just be leaving everything in the file system, but then creating new files. And again, the paper resources, other than the actual play guide, all of the other paper resources will be free forever. I do not plan to change that. If I do change it, you will still retain access to anything previously released under the guise of being free. Anything that might come out paper related that is not going to be free, you will know ahead of time, very much so. We will communicate that. That is the biggest goal. I have seen many companies fall to a lack of communication and lose a lot of people. We will be communicating stuff like that. If there's ever going to be a charge for anything, you will know. Like in this case, the 3D models. Any of these 3D models, they will be charged. They will cost money. And I feel like that's justifiable. However, it won't be, you have to buy each individual one. No, we plan to have all of these models in one singular product. However, as I'm saying that, I believe it might be more beneficial to just the gaming community in general, because I can see this whole concept as being effective for anything, which is why I think I'm going to make the structure and unit tiles separate from the pathway tiles. Prices will still be reasonable, but the reason being is some people might not care for the units and structures, because they might just want these for tabletop RPGs, D&D, Pathfinder. And so something that we were talking about earlier today is not only making hexes of these. The reason that I have saved the actual locks as separate objects in Hex Test 5 is because we are going to be making square versions of these hexes with the exact same lock and sockets. So that way, as a DM for a D&D campaign, what you can do is you can have hexes in one area. Let's say you have a big cavern, and then it goes into a really tight hallway. You can now snap a square tile onto that hex and have it lead directly into a squared hallway. Looks a little bit better on the table. So they'll all be interchangeable and interconnectable, and I believe we're going to try to have the squared tiles included in the same folders and purchase as these hex tiles. And the goal will be to, yes, have every single variant of the squared tiles available as well, similar to how we've done the hex tiles. That will be a lot easier than doing the hexes. It will be a lot quicker of a process. So we should have all of these ready by Saturday. And if you don't, you can bully us in the comments, you know. I will take it to heart and probably cry myself to sleep, but, you know, it'll buff. But with that, I believe that's the majority of our updates. If you are a local to the Panhandle, Florida area, you can actually reach out to me on the Discord server that we have, and the link will be down in the description, because I plan to set up some playtests at some local game shops. And if you're interested in coming out and want to schedule a playtest with me, just reach out and let me know which store you would like to meet at, or if you just like to get some credit for playtesting, because anybody who does any active playtesting in any version of the playtest will be getting credits listed in the final releases and updates if they wish. If not, you don't have to. And you don't have to organize playtests with me. Let that be known. If you want to playtest on your own, feel free. But if you do wish to be listed in the credits, you do have to organize. At least just let me know that you're playtesting and send me some pictures. You know, even if you blur out faces, I don't care. Just send me some pictures of you guys playing. That will confirm that, hey, yeah, people are actually playtesting it. And feedback is also very important. If you're going to playtest it, make sure you're trying to see if there's anything you can give me feedback on. This is my first time developing anything like this. I've done, you know, I'm a big video gamer. I do a lot of, you know, like Minecraft texture packs. I do add-ons and mods for Terraria and Minecraft. I do a little bit of that stuff on the side. I've never done board game design. I've never done actual game design. And I've certainly never done 3D modeling before. This is all new. I'm 4 days in now. It's now officially past 2 in the morning on a Thursday. And I've literally just got today to finish this because I won't be able to access the office Friday. And I'd like to get it out by, midday Saturday. So, because I've got some stuff going on Saturday. I've got that pub crawl. That's going to be fun. So, with that, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And hopefully I can see some of y'all in some playtest games and some final release games in hopefully a couple of months. Once we're ready to go to production, I've still got to figure all that stuff out and get the money for that. That's going to be a whole nother topic. But hopefully we can get some real games in. And if anyone wants to attempt to make this into an actual digital product, like an actual playable game, maybe through Steam or something like that, Tabletop Simulator, I know how that works, and I would love to find a way to set this up in Tabletop Simulator. So if anyone wants to work on such a project like that, get in contact with me. I will absolutely work with you in that. And if you are really dedicated to setting something like that up, I can share actual model files so you can work with what I'm working with. So again, anything like that, want to be listed as a playtester, want to work on digital versions, anything like that, want to actually become a part of the development team and have some input here, work in some of the art, work as a writer, any part of this development process, just contact me. The best ways to contact me are going to be either through Discord or through our email, both of which can be found down in the description. If you want to try to reach out to me through the contacts, through the comments, I'll still have comment notifications on this post, unless it gets a little bit overwhelming, of course, in which case, just refer to my email or my Discord. Reaching out on the Discord server is really a good way. I have most of my notifications on for that server. It is kind of my child, in a way. That sounds weird. But yeah, just reach out. And again, thank you for watching and listening, and I'll see y'all soon.